It's just like an open discussion. I think everybody should participate. I think we can go around as well, around tables and ask people. I don't know, Marcus, maybe we can start with you.
Yeah, yes, of course. We can.
Because we agree and disagree on a number of things.
Yeah.
So I just want to understand what you got out of the day today.
So, of course, first of all, about the presentations, I saw a lot of applications which are more than a prototype, so because they are already maybe not in maybe in every project, but I saw some projects where we have really applications of blockchain where you really store data, exchange data, and there were also presentation about how maybe we can distribute our data a little bit better. So using maybe a decentralized CDE or data storage, and how to manage the data exchange and the interactions, the collaboration between the participants in construction projects. So I found the last thing very interesting, because it's really not so my real topic to think about what are the effects of some kind of new technologies, how they affect really human society and everything. I think it's very important, of course. I'm an engineer, I'm also a computer scientist, so I'm always a practical guy, try to create a software solution and it's running, and not thinking about the effects on the society, for example. I think we have to work on that more, and also maybe then at the moment, especially in Europe and also in Germany, so blockchain is a little bit like not the technology everybody wants to use, because a lot of concerns regarding personal data, energy consumption, and we have already, maybe it's not the biggest problem at the moment, really thinking about implementing a blockchain, but I think we have to give the ideas we have at the moment, and maybe also a solution from abroad, from Asia, from Hong Kong. So maybe show it also here and discuss. Maybe it's also a practical application in our industry, and maybe we share some of our concern regarding maybe what we can store and how we can maybe protect the data a little bit more.
Yeah, that's interesting, and especially when you also talk about Gaia X.
Yeah.
So although blockchain has some bad references, you know, cryptocurrency schemas and so on, and people stealing money from people by creating ICOs and things that happened a couple of years ago. With, I think, Gaia X, you do have also some blockchain and data immutability going on, right?
Yeah, right. So
this is being taken very seriously, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I think when you are, so maybe they put up this new buzzword, I would say, because they are not really talking about blockchain. So but they are talking about how to decentralize our cloud systems and make it accessible, and also regarding considering user rights and everything. And maybe the one solution, the technical solution, is to use the blockchain. So the blockchain is not the main topic. It's a little bit about, I want to share data in a secure way. And I think especially these data contracts, that I want to use your data, maybe for artificial intelligence, for machine learning, and how we can create a contract that I use it really only for training and then maybe delete it, or I can reuse it several times over the years. So how I can pay you. And I think there are not new business models for that. And maybe also here, we need new technologies to store these contracts, to store the transactions and everything. So for me, always blockchain is the technology, and you have a problem you want to solve, and maybe you can solve it very good with blockchain. Sometimes you cannot solve it with blockchain. So it's not about blockchain. The Gaia X is about these sovereignty of your data, and I think then maybe blockchain makes sense.
Yeah. And blockchain as a technology plays only one part of it, because it will only play a few functions of the entire governance, data governance solution, right?
Yeah, right.
Which brings me to, I think, our very first presentation when Jack was talking about Beam Lab. Since 2010, you've been developing this. So you had questions about what models belong to what, you know, and like what models go where, and how do you manage those dependencies? So do you think the dependencies of the architecture for federated BIM models are similar to the same dependencies that we are discussing now with infrastructures that, for example, the German government is putting together like Gaia-X? Do we need to go at that stand to have efficient BIM validation processes, BIM creation and validation processes to improve the construction industry, or are we talking about a very different scope?
I think we are talking about similar concept or similar problem, just that what we have demonstrated is the trade by trade. So that's why we talk about the dependency in terms of the approval process. So that's why maybe we don't need to involve too many, but I think if we come up to the individuals, then probably that would be the problem that we have discussed, and it could be very messy, complicated, and another thing is, I think, many times it's hard to standardize this one. What we have demonstrated is we try to standardize in terms of trade, because by the nature of the project, of course, structure would depend on the architecture, etc. But in reality, if we comes down to the individual, then of course, I think for the approval, if it's official, we still need to go through those kind of the chain of the approval process will be okay. But in some dialogue, some discussion, then, for example, it's hard to have a very solid chain of the dependency. So I think that will be something interesting. So I think it depends on the application. Yeah, for some typical process that we can standardize, then of course we can do what we have demonstrated.
Yes, absolutely. But do you have a feeling, and this is a question for you, Professor Jack Chen, but for everyone, have a feeling that what we are actually doing with blockchain at the moment in construction, with this attempt to blockchain BIM objects or blockchain BIM processes and so on, is just creating a primer for machine learning and AI? We're just paving the road for better machine learning and AI for BIM verification and validation and industrialized construction. Or there is something that is actually genuine, a genuine standalone functionality or business capability that we are bringing with blockchain?
I think, if I try to understand the question correctly, I think to me the blockchain part just try to better manage the data. So this is actually a motivation. For example, if we want to apply blockchain, then we need to have a clearer picture at the very beginning about how we manage the data. And with doing so, then it will support those like the machine learning, AI, etc. But I think even though, frankly speaking, even though we don't have the blockchain, if we have a good data management concept, even for the ISO 19650, I think the whole concept is about information management. If we have a good information manager, which plan ahead how we distribute the data, who contribute the data, and then in what format we standardize all this, then blockchain or not blockchain, to me, I think may not be the part that will support us to do AI or machine learning. So I think just that if we need to do blockchain, then we need to make sure the quality of the data, the quality or the well plan of the data workflow, and which will support AI and the machine learning, stuff like that.
But it has its own implications on as a technology for the BIM processes.
That definitely, yeah. Because I think with the adoption of the blockchain, then we can guarantee the quality of the data. which will help us to support the use of the data. So when we talk about the dual twin or other stuff, I think what's important is not only the collection of the data, but after we have collected all the data, just like in a bridge, we have many sensing data. But if we don't analyze it, there's no news. And then after analyze, if we don't use the analyzed data to really help us to make better decision, then basically just a bunch of data. So I think all this infrastructure help us to do better management of the data, but I think finally we should still see how we can make use of this data to achieve something creating values.
Right, great. And
so I echo with Jack. So blockchain can guarantee better quality of data for machine learning or AI. That's one thing. But in my research team, we also noticed that some global chain, the people are talking about something AI or machine learning on chain. So there are two kind of directions of a blockchain on machine learning on chain. The first one is you put the blockchain data to train your algorithm. But another direction is you actually blockchain your algorithm, a machine learning algorithm on chain as well. So I was a bit suspect about the legitimacy of this direction, because blockchain is supposed to be a data redundancy, a decentralized way of organizing data. So whether that can boost machine learning, I actually question that. But and still follow this global chain. I wouldn't claim that's my original idea, but there's a trend talking about machine learning on chain. Okay? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so then step into your, well, definitely come back to you from the afternoon notes, but I'm just going to comment here that we then have propositions like Hong Yang Wan's presentation on very ambitious allocation of optimization, and not necessarily, I think it did come across as a beautiful project, but also very uncomfortable and unsettling, because you're not necessarily proposing something that is short-term. It's more like a long-term strategy. So I thought that was very interesting. So all the agro-farming proposition and how to optimize this to create true sustainability may have a very obvious confrontation with the current capitalistic regime. So I just wonder if you have anything to add to that or to comment, because it can give that political contrast as well. If you have the data and the data is there, it's immutable, it's in the blockchain, we can see where political problems are. And I just wonder if this is the part of the agenda of your research, or is something that is just like a side effect of your research. It is disruptive, that's what I mean.
I quote Professor Daniel. Always really like.
There's no one online anymore.
No, that's okay.
2 words, right?
It's being recorded.
Okay, yeah. Daniel always like to say that post-capitalism. Well, I'm not so sure exactly what it means, but I hope that we are looking for something that's different, fundamentally different.
So yeah, I think Daniel and we agree that we disagree with lots of things, because even post-capitalism has its limitations, and capitalism might pop up again. So I just wonder, because your project does have a political disruptive side, because you're not, you seem to be walking away from current financial models or economical models and investigating something along the lines of a donut model.
Yeah, I know that, yeah. I mean, it's such a dangerous question. Abel. No, I think yeah, we hope that, I think that's the whole beauty of blockchain. I think that's probably what made a lot of people, I hope, that's here. I mean, it's a disruptive nature of blockchain. If we're not changing something fundamentally, why we're here?
Yeah, so just wondering if, just throwing the question out there, are we thinking that blockchain is the sort of technology that we've been looking for questions of schools of thoughts like utilitarianism, that the best thing is the thing for the greater good, or if the best thing for the greater good is the recipe for disaster? I think there are quite a few people here who can comment on this, including Gavin and others. Yeah, is the greater good always a good thing?
The question just gets more dangerous somehow, the more I try to avoid.
I think I have a neutral way to answer. I think the blockchain is just a tool, and it depends how you set it up and how you program it, or how you design the system that it then serves. Mm-hmm. But there is definitely this disruptive side, and I think people will explore, and then I'm very interested to see what happens.
That's very nice and diplomatic. Yeah. Okay.
One thing that I do find interesting in DAO, for example, development about governance is about fluid governance. So actually it's hard for myself to convince that there will be one system that fits all. So if we would add in a time and scale factor, maybe actually the systems should change. So I also hope that whichever system that we're developing would incorporate and think about that too. So maybe add a fluidity into that.
Right, interesting.
Ooh, that's always a good question, isn't it? Almost existential. I agree with Jens here that the technology ultimately is a tool. People don't need to see it. People don't see most of the technology that exists around us anyway. It just is there as part of the fabric of life. Can we use that to improve the everyday lives of people? Yes. Should we? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. Tomorrow I'll talk a little bit about DAOs. They're having some legal challenges at the moment, and they're not always perhaps quite as friendly as we may idealize them to be or want them to be. But you've got to set it against the background, I think, of human nature and the gross imprecision of everyday life. Humans are very fluid. Subtext, we're very messy and generally quite disorganized and not very diligent when it comes to data, which blockchain and all these solutions need is a high level of precision. From my own background in law, well, it's a disaster. There's no such thing as 0 and 1 in law. It's all a shade of grey in between, depending on how you look at it. So it's an intriguing question. I'm not sure I have the answer.
Yeah, I don't think we do, and I think that's our fate as a human race. We definitely on that squiggly line along the dark and the light, right? And it's always, can the technology be subverted? Yes, it can. Is it going to be? It definitely will be. It has already, to an extent, like ICOs and things like that. Can it be used for good things and useful, create truly useful things that will bring world sustainability? Potentially. Yeah, I think it's that, but how we negotiate that gray line is very complicated.
No, I think that's fair to say. I think part of the roadmap and part of what we do here is the exploration of that. And piece by piece, if we can break down larger problems into smaller problems and answer them piece by piece and apply technology sensibly, responsibly, strategically, blockchain is part of that, as is machine learning and AI. I myself have used ChatGPT, don't mind admitting that. But it is a great research tool. And so these, and maybe that's the point, that all these things are tools. And if they can improve our day-to-day life, all the better for it. We can get more done faster, quicker, cheaper, all the usual efficiencies, and improve the world around us. And that's what we're all about here as well, is the built environment.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so I'll just step away from this and discuss a little bit Claudia's presentation on this. So just going back for a moment, yeah, like for Gavin's comment, yeah, this is an incredibly gray area, and I think lots of doctorates in philosophy will come out of that question. Yeah, so but going to Claudia's point, I think what is very interesting about it is proposing that service layer, almost like a service layer for a collection of CDs, which in essence also operates a little bit like a donut. It operates like a data bus or a service bus that connects everything and breaks away from the vendor locking situation, and also the process locking. It gives like a process freedom and process choice, and yet gives the consensus mechanism that we need to break away from data silos and create efficiency. Not only create efficiency, but also avoid waste. You know, like waste in supply chains, supply chains of services and materials and products and so forth. So I just wonder what you all think about this, starting with Claudia. I mean, you can be your own self-critic, if you like.
Yeah, well, I think there are a lot of points to discuss there. I mean, it's not an idea that is easy to implement, I think, because yeah, first we would need to get the compliance of the software vendors, I think. But I think they should be interested in doing this, because I guess it's more controversial to like propose a tool to replace all of the tools that are used right now. And I think it's also not feasible to do, because like we have so many different tools that are needed. They all meet different requirements of each of the phases, but also each of the stakeholders. Like they have incredibly lots of functionalities. So yeah, proposing like one new blockchain CDE to replace them all and have one single source of truth, I think it's just not feasible to do. So we have to find another solution, how to actually ensure that we have a single source of truth, because we don't have it at the moment. And I think it's important to think, like, how do we implement this in practice? Yeah, I don't know what everybody thinks.
I agree. So at the moment, I work with the client's organization for a major infrastructure project in the UK to develop critical transport infrastructure. And we have about 1,000 people asking for the same thing in different ways, in different locations. And so I've been assisting that project now for 3 years, and the discontinuity of what is required is epic. People simply cannot come into a consensus on an agreement. They are asking exactly the same thing, but they don't know that. And it's just, so far, the British government is spending quite a bit of money with this project, and and you just think, currently there is no other way, but you can see that there is a better way to do it. You can literally see. And it's so obvious that everybody, the thousands or so people, professionals, they can see, we have meetings to discuss exactly that. You know, it's obvious that there is a better way to do it. What is that way? So when you propose your system, your CD, and this is almost like an accountability chain for what is going on, that could also be used as an enterprise content management system for structured and unstructured data, without asking anyone to use any, give up on any particular tool. Just adopt the accountability chain. That seems to be very attractive. I don't know. Listen. No, I just. Yeah. Yeah, it's just like we make lots of jokes in computer science about AI. I have a friend that keeps saying that AI is a lollipop that wants to be licked, and things like that. It's just like a tool looking for a solution, looking for a problem, and things like that. But there are occasionally you have tools that come along that they say, okay, this is God-given. It's like it's sent by the heavens, because that's exactly what we need. So I just think that I think it's very important when people come up with a good idea that they don't get that blueprint and throw it in the bin, that they carry on pursuing the development of that idea. I think it's important to throw bad ideas away, but it's equally important to recognize a good idea when you get it. So any other comments? Or time? Okay. So then we had the afternoon. We discussed a lot of fabrication, the MIC projects, and then we have the interesting workshop. So I think on the workshop, we just experienced this, so I would just ask you if you can briefly give feedback. I don't want to go table by table, but I would just ask you to be proactive and really give feedback on how you think the workshop can be improved in the future for the next year and so forth. So any ideas you have, please, you can send this directly to me if you don't want to say live, or if you want to discuss it now, we can discuss it now, or discuss it in the boat in a bit. But I think it's important. So the CBC, before the pandemic, we had hackathons almost every month. Of course, we had the pandemic and things changed. So we went online, and gradually we coming back to the physical world again. I think it's important for you to give us feedback and say, oh, I think we should have a little bit of that, or we should change our research agenda, or I suggest this for the next white paper. It's very much a community that needs your feedback. So we will try to map this out and bring us as point of actions for the consultants. So if you see that the workshop, it looks quite different from what it used to be, please let us know what you want to see next time. So we had a time that the workshop was very much hands-on coding Ethereum stuff, or coding R3 stuff, or Corda, writing smart contracts. We had a Hyperledger one that was almost successful, but we spent a day setting up Hyperledger on our computers. So that was a very hands-on process. If you want to see more of this, let us know, and then we can address this in the workshop. And at the conference, of course, is more a conference format. And there's also a possibility to bring the two things together, to do the workshop and the conference in one full week. And that's something we could consider. But I will call the day. I think we need to go to the station and go to our boat ride. And I hope to see you all tomorrow morning. Thank you. Thank you.